Hello, beautiful people. Today is 6th of June. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, he is Ajay Pal Singh Banga, the president of MasterCard. He says, we have the internet of everything, but not the inclusion of everyone. So now guys, in 21st century it is being said that internet is the most important force. But despite of such wide coverage, a kind of an elitism is also coming onto the internet. And in this direction, IoT represents the possibilities where internet might not be a pressing issue right now, but there is a substantial section of society which, if a basic internet connection is given, much developmental fruits can come. For example, giving them accessibility of their accounts via internet, giving them accessibility of forecast via internet to the poor farmers. So guys, still the inclusion of everyone is required. So guys, this particular quote you can use into the developmental related questions into the GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 3. Now guys, this is the mains question that I have gave you yesterday. So the question says that sound defense preparedness is the consequence of integration of not only three armed forces but also to minimize bureaucratic military divide. So we need to comment in the light of challenges into the defense procurement, and you need to suggest some measures. Now, as I say, that your answer should always be divided in three distinct parts, that is, an intro, a body, and it could be a conclusion or could be a way forward. So, in intro, you can write that the neo wars are the wars of integration due to the rising tactical capabilities of the opponents or the enemies. So, integration works on various levels. That's it. Now into the body, large number of you are writing about the chief of defense staff, but that is not to be written. Why? Because the question itself is saying that it is not the consequence of only three armed forces. So CDS point you need to give, but just give a passing reference. So you need to show the bureaucratic and military divide. So on one hand there will be the cabinet secretaries, ministers, and on other hand there will be the officers and the fighting squad. Now, friends, the aspiration of the bureaucracy and at the ministerial level could be the populism, could be something other, but the aspiration for the fighting squad or the troop is just the performance and the result. However, guys, many a times this synchronization is not there, and the aspirations of the military or the defense forces is not reflected into the government procurement policies. For example, take the example of the Atmanirbharta Abhiyan into the defense sector, when we know that the DRDO as well as HAL doesn't have that much of capabilities. So guys, these things are needed to be taken care of. However, still Atmanirbharta is a goal, and in this direction, what could be done? First of all, the defense procurement policy of the government should focus on to that region into the short term where the capabilities have been already built, such as light ammunition, and there the focus should be started. After that, into the mean course of time, the research and development expenditure of the organizations such as DRDO should be expanded onto the lines of ISRO, and as they develop the capabilities, we should switch to the tactical procurement of weapons in house. Then, thirdly, the defense manufacturing PSUs should also be given adequate financial autonomy so that into the short period of time they can also gauge the manufacturing capabilities. So, guys, all these things you need to write here. So, now, guys, let's start with the newspaper analysis. So now let's have an overview of the entire paper. So finally, India, China have agreed to resolve the differences bilaterally. However, still China is playing its diplomacy card. We'll see how. After that, here the FPI inflows have increased. So we will see the basic concepts and the reason why. Then moving forward, we can see that here the Punjab government is saying that how the federalism is being botched by the central government into the light of recent agricultural reforms. After that, moving forward, here we will see a case study with respect to the environment and ecology and how onto the World Environment Day states are responding. Now we are into the editorial section, and here into the first editorial we will see that how performance might not give result to the credible scientific studies. Now, this particular editorial talks about certain charges onto the Tushar Mehta, who's the Solicitor General. So it is a personalistic editorial. Will not be seeing this thing. Now, going down, we will see that how pharmaceutical sector needs to change. Now guys, this particular editorial talks about the Formula 1 race not usable for exam. Now, in this particular editorial, this is a big one. Here we will discuss the recent Vizag anthropogenic disaster and various different angles associated here. Now, moving forward, here we will see the UNSC election in which India will be contesting. So, what is India's philosophy here? After that, new draft drone rules have been notified, so we will see it. Then the private hospitals should also treat the other non-beneficiaries of Ayushman Bharat. So we will see this thing. Then moving forward, we come on to the international page, and here the US wants the accountability of Tiananmen massacre. We will see this thing. Now, guys, moving to the business page, Reserve Bank of India had created a new payment infrastructure development fund. So we will see this thing. Then coming to the back page, we will see what is the LiDAR technology and how it is being used into the archaeology. So guys, that's all. And now let's start with the detailed analysis of the newspaper. Now, friends, as we are seeing into the last few days, as how the matters have been escalated, so finally, the foreign ministry level talks have been held between the India and the China, and both the countries have agreed that through the bilateral talks, the matter will be resolved amicably, and each other's sensitivities, concerns, and aspirations will be respected. Now, guys, into the past few days, we had seen various articles as is there any geostrategic angle to whatever is happening here? So, obviously, there is a geostrategic purpose for this particular thing. And into the release that has been given by the Chinese Foreign Ministry, we can find a very strange thing. So, here the Chinese ministry said that the two countries should oppose politicizing the epidemic situation and support the World Health Organization. Now, guys, this particular thing was not said by the Indian Foreign Ministry. Now, now a question comes that what signals are being given by this particular thing? So the answer is very simple. Now, this very year, India has been elected as the chairman of the executive board of the World Health Organization, and in that capacity, India will be having a considerable say into the decisions of the World Health Assembly. So, guys, World Health Assembly is a platform where all the decisions are taken collectively by the member countries. So, there India will be having the considerable say, and there a matter is arising that an impartial inquiry into the origin of virus should be made, and India also supports that particular viewpoint. Now, guys, by this particular statement, China is giving a signal to India that I hope you will not politicize that particular issue. So, guys, here the LAC is being used as a bargaining chip to hide the origins of the virus and China's response into that particular regard. So, guys, here you can see the classic use of diplomacy and can see how China wants quid pro quo settlement. So, friends, this could be a dimension with respect to your IR also. So, this is all, and now we'll go to next. Now, friends, here we can see that there has been a massive increase into the foreign flows or foreign investment into the Indian markets. Now, first of all, what type of investments are now coming? So, they are the FPI, which means the foreign portfolio investment. Now, first of all, you might be having a confusion that what is this FPI, what is this FDI, and all that kind of thing. So, guys, please don't be scared because your confusion is very much legitimate. Not you are only having the confusion, rather, the government also had a confusion. So, therefore, government also needed to constitute a committee which was called as Arvind Mayaram Committee. And the only purpose of this committee is to tell the government that what is the difference between FPI and FDI. So, finally, the committee submitted its report and said that if a foreign investor is doing an investment into a company up to 10%, then that investment will be called as FPI. However, if investment more than 10% is being done, then it will be called as FDI. Now we'll take one very simple example. Suppose there is one ABC Limited company. Now, this is an Indian company, and here, suppose Donald Trump wants to buy the 50% shares of this particular company, then that investment will be called as FDI. However, if Donald Trump thinks that no, I don't want to buy 50%, I will just buy the 5% of share, then that investment will be called as FPI because it is less than 10%. Now, friends, this FPI is also called as hot money. Why? Because the investor here is not coming for the long term, because the quantum of investment is so small that whenever he want, he can exit from the India. So here the purpose is to earn the windfall profits when the stock market is rising. However, when person is coming more than 10%, then investment is massive and his interest is long term, and then he will always also be bringing various other things such as technical know-how, best practices, managerial skills, all these kind of things. So guys, before, because of this particular thing, government often favors the FDI because it is more stable. Now, guys, one more additional information. You might have heard about the QFI, FII also, but now they have been discontinued. They were nothing but the format of the FPI only. So now government has rationalized FPI, and there is only one terminology, that is FPI. So now QFI and FII also doesn't exist. So life is easier. There is only two things, FPI and FDI. Now, friends, coming back to the news, here you can see that the investment is in the FPI. So it means that they are buying the share. They are here not for the strategic investment. Now, why the interest into the share market has been increased? Now, guys, recently the Reliance of India Limited issued its rights issue, due to which there has been much positivity into the Indian stock market, and as the prospects are there, FPI will automatically be coming. Now, one more question comes, that what is this rights issue which has been recently announced by the Reliance of India Limited? Moreover, guys, it is the largest such rights issue in last 10 year into the world also. So we will see this thing. Now, guys, as the company expands, it needs more money. So that money could be for making a new plant or any kind of thing. But now Reliance needs money because it has an aim that it wants to go debt free by 2021. So by raising new money, they will pay to their debentures, to their debt holders, and for that money they are issuing the rights issue. Now, guys, what happens here? Here the new shares will be offered only to the people who are the existing shareholders into a company. So now here the ratio of 1 is to 15 is kept. It means that if you are holding the 15 shares, you can apply for one new share. If you are holding the 1500 shares, you can apply for the 100 new shares. However, it is on you whether you will apply or not. So guys, because of all these things, moreover, there has also been a stake share into the Kotak Mahindra Bank. However, we'll not go into that thing. So because of these things, the positivity has came, and FPI are now coming. So guys, this is all about this, and now we'll move to next. Now, here we have a news article where it has been said that the center government is breaching the federal structure of the country by bringing the agricultural ordinance. Now, first of all, if you are following the newspaper analysis regularly, then you might be knowing that on 4th of June, at this time, we had discussed the agricultural reforms that have been brought by the central government. So, we had seen that the reforms into the agricultural movement, contract farming, all these kind of things have been made, and the aim is to double the farmers income by 2022 or 23. So guys, in this direction these reforms were needed, but the state government such as Punjab government says that as agriculture is the state subject, and the center interfering into the agriculture is the breach of federalism. Now, friends, as we had seen here, that various ordinances have been passed. So, one of the ordinance which has become the bone of contention is the Farming Produce Trade and Commerce Ordinance 2020. Now, guys, under this particular ordinance, the freedom has been given far to the farmers that they can sell their agricultural produce outside the APMC also. Now, APMC stands for the Agricultural Produce Market Committees. Now, guys, all the state governments have different versions of the APMC Act. Now, the gist of this particular act is that the farmer has to sell his goods mandatorily into a designated mandi or a market. Outside the mandi or market, he can't sell his goods. Now, because of this particular thing, farmer is not able to realize the better price because he is bound with the specific mandi or a market. Now, friends, although various reforms have been made by the state governments into their APMC acts, and in this direction, if you remember, we have discussed one excellent editorial also. But still, the majority of APMC are still exploitative of the farmers. So therefore, the ordinance which was passed, in that ordinance it was said that the farmer will be given freedom to sell wherever he want. But the government such as Punjab, they think that rather than giving the freedom, there will be the exploitation of farmer, because into the APMC mandi various protections were given to the farmers and the mechanisms were very much regulated so that the traders in mandi can't exploit, but all these safeguards will not be available outside the mandi. So guys, this could be a legitimate criticism also. However, we also can't overrule that there is much politics also involved into the matter, as matter is connected to the farmer, and we know the vote bank politics that is very much prominent. However, guys, with respect to the academic viewpoint, these are certain positions in this regard. So that's all. Now we'll move to next. Friends, if you have written mains, then you know that substantiating your answer by putting case study, relevant examples, relevant indexes is the most important in order to score the good marks. Otherwise, you'll be getting average marks and will not be getting an interview call. So here we will see an case study which could be quoted into the environmental conservation related questions. Now, friends, what has happened? Yesterday, 5th of June, there was the World Environment Day. You might have also seen into the PDF notes that we have given to you, and into the quote also I told you. Now, World Environment Day is an occasion which is used by the United Nations Environment Program to raise the awareness into the people with respect to the environment conservation. And in the 2020, the theme is Time for Nature, which calls that actions should be taken by the governments. Now, in this direction, certain actions has been taken by the Maharashtra Department of Environment and Climate Change. Now, what they are doing is that now the department will explore the five elements of nature, that is the earth, wind, water, fire, and ether. And in with respect to each of the element, the actions will also be taken. Now, they had said that in case of earth, the department will focus on afforestation, conservation of forest, solid waste management, prevention of land degradation, etc. Now, guys, moving to the next element, that is wind. It is being interpreted as air, and they will focus on the assisting department of industry and transport so that the air pollution could be reduced and the air quality index could be enhanced. In this direction, yesterday we also discussed that Saal Bhar 60 campaign has also been going on. After that, the water element will be reflected by the rejuvenation of rivers. Then the fire is the form of energy, so here the energy efficiency will be enhanced and the wastage will be reduced. And finally, the ether or the space is being represented by knowledge, and in this direction awareness campaigns and educational programs will be started. So guys, this is a very good initiative, and you can use it is into your example as well as into the essays. So this is all. Now we'll go to next. Now, guys, this editorial talks about an issue which happened recently. Now, Lancet is one of the most influential medical journal into the world, and in this journal, a report was published in which it was said that the hydroxychloroquine is not effective into the treatment of the present virus. On the side note, guys, hydroxychloroquine is a drug used to treat the malaria, and it was said that into the present crisis, if the patients are given hydroxychloroquine, then their lung condition improves and the chances of getting pneumonia are also reduced substantially. Now, coming back to the news article. So, guys, what happened? In Lancet, the report was published that hydroxychloroquine is not effective, and on the basis of this report, WHO issued an advisory that since hydroxychloroquine is not effective, countries can roll back the hydroxychloroquine trials that are going. And in this direction, countries such as England also rolled back the trials of hydroxychloroquine. Now, what has happened? It has been found that the report which was published, it relied onto the data supplied by a company which is called as Surgisphere Corporation. Now, guys, when the background of Sergis Fair was checked, then it was found that this particular corporation neither has the manpower nor their data set is very much clear as how they came onto the conclusion that hydroxychloroquine is not effective. So now the debate onto the credibility of the Sergis Fair is being raised, and automatically the Lancet report also becomes baseless and uncredible. Now, in this entire aftermath, friends, a question is being arised that now a kind of an environment for panic has been created. And in this, it is being expected that the scientists are certain magicians, and just into the night they will come out with certain report and it will be entirely true onto the facts. Earlier, when a report was to be published, that report was to be peer reviewed, into which other scientists they used to question, see the credibility, and only then the decisions were to be taken. Now this peer review is not being given the adequate attention, and the speed or the swiftness is the only principle, which is not good when dealing with the sensitive scientific questions like this, which have far more implications. So, guys, right now the scientific process should not be divorced from the rationalism, logic, and all these kind of things, just because the political pressure is there, and very fastly, swiftly, you need to come out with the findings. So that thing should be taken care of. So, friends, just an alternate dimension onto the findings which are coming. Please keep this viewpoint in your mind. And now we'll move to next. Now, friends, this editorial talks as how we can bring certain innovation into the pharmaceutical sector so that it can be more representative to the needs of the poor people also. Now, friends, into the modern lives, drugs are one of the most crucial commodity that a person needs. And every year, more than 110 lakh crore rupees worth of drugs are bought, which is equal to 1.7% of global GDP. Now, it shows that it is one of the most desired commodity because it sustains the life. Now, guys, when we talk about drugs, there are two type of drugs. One are the patented and other are the generic. Now, patented drugs are also called as branded drugs. Now, friends, whenever a new disease is discovered and for that a drug is to be made, then large number of companies does a lot of research and development. And if some company finds a relevant drug, then it go for the patent of that particular drug. And when the patent is given, then that particular company gets a monopoly that for next nearly 20 years only that company can make the drug. Now, WTO, World Trade Organization, makes adequate measures to provide for the patents. Now, through the patent, a kind of a monopoly is being given to the company which innovated for the drug so that they can fix the price according to their own wishes and can recover the cost which they have incurred. So, guys, into the case of the branded or patented drugs, what happen? The price of more than 100,000% is kept than the what is their manufacturing price, though it varies in different countries, and this 1000% markup is for the USA. Now, this particular thing is fine because companies are doing years of research and development, they are incurring the huge cost on that particular thing, and they want to reward the innovators also. So this kind of mechanisms give a motivation. But in all this arrangement, the problem is that poor people's concern is not noted because they can't pay such high prices. Now, going on to the same line, at the same time, there is also more than 20 neglected tropical diseases and they impact more than billion people. but the companies are not doing R&D onto these diseases and are not making the drugs. Why? Because these diseases impact the poor people, mainly into the African countries. So guys, profit and cost is a major driver, but poor people are being left behind and their concern is not being again duly noted. So in this direction, an alternative is being suggested by the article, that is a health impact fund. Now, guys, the corpus of this health impact fund could be anywhere around 20,000 crore rupees. Now, what will be happen? The manufacturer will register their drugs under this health impact fund, and they will pledge that they will sell the drug into the market at the manufacturing cost or below the manufacturing cost, and their R&D they will be recovering from this health impact fund and not by charging the higher prices. Now, guys, there could be initially 10 12 most important drugs could be registered under this fund, and they will be given money onto the basis of impact or the gain that particular medicine is receiving. Now, as the time will pass, the governments, institutions, organization, etc. could contribute into the health impact fund onto the basis of their state's capacity. Moreover, even there something international tax could also be levied, and the proceed of that international tax can also go into the health impact fund. Now, tax onto the aviation or onto the global transaction, etc., could be explored. So, what will happen here? The research and development cost could be recovered from this. Moreover, apart from this, also the companies will be given the permission that they can sell the drugs at the higher cost into the affluent countries or to the section of people who can afford those costs. So the companies will be more interested here. Now, apart from this, there are other compelling reasons also that why commercial pharmaceutical firms should join. Now, guys, what happens? There is the clause of commercial licensing, which is allowed under the WTO. Now, under the mechanism of compulsory licensing, the government has a power that if some drug is very much essential or very much crucial, then even if there is a patent for that particular drug, still the government can take that patent and can give it to the generic drug manufacturers and they can make the drugs. So, guys, here the 20-year monopoly can be seized, can be finished by the government under the clauses of compulsory licensing. So now the companies will not be able to charge high, and in this capacity, their profit will be reduced. So, guys, and all the firms at some point of life they had faced the compulsory licensing, and if they will join the health impact fund, then there will be no compulsory licensing because anyhow the drugs will be sold at the low prices and they will get money under the health impact fund. Now, guys, some more things could also be there into the health impact fund. Now, if a company's vaccine is able to eradicate the disease within 7 years, then that company will also be given some additional rewards from the health impact fund. So the companies will now be more focused onto the result rather than onto the sales. So, guys, according to this alternative mechanisms, much result could be achieved. So, guys, this is all about here. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, this editorial recounts the personal accounts of the tragedy that occurred at the Vizag, but there are certain important things that we can see here. First of all, friends, there could be two type of disaster, that is the natural disaster and the anthropogenic disaster. So anthropogenic are those which are caused by the activities of the human beings. Now this is an industrial accident, therefore it is an anthropogenic disaster. Now, into this disaster, what happened? LG polymer plant had a gas leak. Now this LG polymer plant is located into the Vizag, which is in Andhra Pradesh. Now, guys, earlier this LG polymer was also called as Hindustan polymer till 1997. However, not that important. Now the question comes that which gas was leaked. So here the styrene gas was leaked, and this styrene gas is used to make the polystyrene plastics. So, guys, these plastics are very much versatile because they can be molded into the variety of shapes, variety of sizes. Moreover, they could also be made into the transparent way. For example, you had seen the fiber glasses or the fiber cutleries which are transparent. So they are the example of these polystyrene plastics. Now, guys, the element in question here, the styrene, it is normally stored into the liquid form. Why? Because it is very, very inflammable. So we store it into the liquid form. And to keep it in liquid, we set it at a very low temperature. And guys, if the temperature will increase, then automatically this styrene liquid will convert into the gas, and a process will start which is called as polymerization. Now guys, polymerization is a process of converting the monomer into the polymers. Fine. Now what is the monomer? So guys, monomer is a molecule which can bind with the other molecule, and as they can bind with each other, they can make the long chains. So what is a plastic? In plastic, there are large number of monomers which are bound together, and therefore plastics are also called as polymers. Now guys, polymerization could be in two ways. It could be the controlled polymerization by the process which we make the plastics, but there is another way also, that is called as the self polymerization. And into the self polymerization, external controls could not be there, and it could be the disastrous if it goes out of the hand. Now guys, this was entire background. What happened? The National Green Tribunal, after the accident, constituted a panel, and in that panel it was seen that as the lockdown was going on, the LG polymer did not took enough precautions so that the gas could be kept at the liquid. So what had happened? The container in which the gas was kept, there was no proper apparatus to check the temperature. If it is rising, then the precautions could be taken. Secondly, there was no adequate quantities of the tertiary butyl catechol. Now friends, this particular element keeps the temperature of the styrene into the check. It keeps it at the lower. So what happened? There were two problems. First of all, the temperature was not kept into the check. Why? Because there were no proper sensors throughout the container. Secondly, there was no adequate tertiary butyl catechol which could have kept it at the lower temperatures. Then apart from this, thirdly, there was one more problem, that adequate clearances was not there with the plant. Then the fourth problem was that the staff which was handling this entire operation was negligent. And guys, as I told you, that if temperature will increase, then the polymerization will begin, which is self polymerization. And due to this thing, the pressure developed into the tank and the gas leaked out of it. Now the gas leaked into the nearby 2 kilometer of radius where the people were also living. Now guys, into the short term, the gas causes the problem of itching, nausea, confusion, respiratory problems. It can also cause the blindness. So these are the short term. However, the long term impacts on the people are still being studied, and there could even be a possibility that they could be the carcinogenic into the long term. However, that thing has to be seen. Now guys, this was the entire thing which has happened. Now certain more issues come. First of all issue is that the government has announced that they will pay 1 crore to the 1 crore rupees to the families who have died. Now a question comes that when a private corporate has caused the accident, then why the public funding which has given by the taxpayers is being used here into the relief? Why the company is not being forced that all the liability they should bear? Though guys, 50 crore rupees fine has already been slapped by the NGT, but still a question is coming that why government is paying. But there are the ethical considerations also on to the other hand, that also we can't overrule. Then the second thing comes that this particular incident, apart from causing the health miseries, had also caused the problem onto the livelihood of the farmers. Why? Because the styrene is a heavy gas and it settles very fast onto the crops which were standing into the nearby fields. And onto the direction of the administration, the farmers were told to dispose the crops and cannot sow the new crops until the orders are being given. So here the farmers are facing the problem over their livelihood. Thirdly, the problem is that this is an example of poor urbanization. Now, guys, it is being said that originally, when the industries were established in Vishakhapatnam, then they are the outside the city, and the city was little bit far. But as the urbanization has occurred, what has happened? The people are now living around the factories, which are often the hazardous, and there will always be the fear of such accidents. Now, if we see the topology of Vishakhapatnam, then it can be seen that on the one side there is a Bay of Bengal, and on the other three sides there are the mountains, and Vishakhapatnam is located in between. So the argument here is that from the very start the industries should have established onto the other side of mountain so that such problem doesn't comes, but the industries were given to establish within this particular zone, and as the town has expanded the houses have came near the vicinity of these industries. So from the very start, the urban planners have also been very careless into this particular regard. So friends, right now the committee has been constituted and it is looking into the negligences, and into the mean course of time the penalties will also be following up. However, until and unless very strong legislations will not be established in this regard, these accidents are bound to happen. So guys, this is all. Now we'll go to next. Now, friends, here's a news with respect to India's contest of UNSC seat. Now, friends, United Nation has six principal organs, and out of these six principal organs, United Nations Security Council is one. And this particular organ has a responsibility to ensure the international peace and security. Now, guys, in UNSC, there are 15 members, out of which 10 members are non permanent and 5 members are permanent. Now, guys, in these 5 members include China, France, Russia, UK, and USA. Though India's contention is such that India should be included into these five into this permanent member list. But certain substantial reforms are needed here in order to expand this particular thing. So right now, India is eyeing over these 10 non-permanent members. Now, guys, for this particular thing, India is contesting the elections, and India has a particular manifesto also, which is called as norms. It stands for a new orientation for a reformed multilateral system. And here, if I give you the summary, so India says that it will help into the progress, will bring the reforms into the multilateral system, will fight the international terrorism, which is a very big problem, and will bring the technology with human touch, because often the technology brings the destruction for ecology, environment, and all that kind of thing. So, guys, as the BJP Congress brings their own manifesto, simply India has this as the manifesto. Further, India also propagates the philosophy of 5S. So 5S means Samman, Samvad, Sahyog, Shanti, and Samriddhi. So it is just like that: respect, dialogue, cooperation, peace, and prosperity. All things will be propagated if India will get a seat into the non-permanent members. Now, please keep in mind that this is not the first time that India will be elected here. This will be the eighth time when India will get the non permanent member seat. Now, guys, in order to get elected, out of 193 members, vote of 2 by 3rd member is required. So, in this direction, India is hopeful that it will get the vote of 2 by 3rd member. Now, guys, Afghanistan was also contesting for the election, but Afghanistan has stepped down into the favor of India. So, the prospect of India's have also become even more brighter. Now, guys, though in 2019, India's candidature was supported both by Pakistan as well as China, but right now, due to the declining state of relationships, there could be some backlash. However, that thing will be seen when the elections will be held into the June this year. Moreover, guys, Organization of Islamic Cooperation member countries such as Turkey are also angry with India because of Article number 370. So there could might be some backlash from here also. But more or less, India is hopeful that it will get a seat into the UNSC. So guys, this is all. Now we'll move to next. Now friends, here new draft rule for the use of drones have been notified. Now first of all, before going into the news, if we go little bit into the background, then in 2018 It was said that with respect to the drones, the user need to register their equipment with the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, and if they register their equipment, they can use the drones. Secondly, it was also said that the user of the drones need to use it into their visual range up to where they can see. Now, guys, after that, there was a kind of a gray area whether the drones can be used for the delivery. However, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation had given a permission to the Zomato and Swiggy that they need to conduct the trials and the report is needed to be submitted back. And if that report is good, then they could be given the permission to conduct the delivery via drones. However, guys, the preparations were under the line. No actual trial was conducted, and in all this meanwhile, now the rules have been changed again, and now the civil aviation says that dropping of any physical object from the unmanned aerial vehicle, that is a drone, is not allowed. But as this new rule, they are the draft, so they are not the final ones. Government had given the time to the public so that they can give their comments, and on that basis only this draft will be finalized. So guys, the things will now unfold more. So when it will finally be coming, then we need to see it again. So guys, this is all. Now we'll go to next. Now, guys, here in this particular news, the Supreme Court has asked the government that whether the people who are not covered under the Ayushman Bharat scheme can they also be treated into the private hospitals at the rates which have been fixed for the beneficiaries of Ayushman Bharat. Now, guys, Ayushman Bharat is the flagship scheme under which more than 10 crore beneficiaries are given the benefits of up to 5 lakh rupees for their treatment into the secondary and tertiary care hospitals. Now, friends, into the aftermath of present crisis, it has been said that all the beneficiaries of Ayushman Bharat, they can get their treatment into the private hospital at the cost of rupees 4,000. So the cost has been capped. Now the Supreme Court asked that does at the same cost government can also allow the treatment of the other individuals also. So in a way, the Supreme Court is asking about the universalization of the health benefits to everyone. Now this is a very good thing, but the government has replied. The Solicitor General had said that this thing is not possible, as right now government's own revenue are very much less and this thing can't be done. So guys, basically, if we see into the rationale of all this thing, then under article number 47, that is a DPSP, the responsibility has been given to the state to take care of the public health. But the DPSPs are non-enforceable. The reason being that the state's capacity also needed to be seen. So right now, as a state doesn't has the capacity, state can't promise these things to the other individuals also. So guys, for GS2, keep this viewpoint also in your mind. And now we'll move to next. Now, friends, as we are seeing the unfolding of the confrontation between China and USA, one more episode has been added. That is the Tiananmen massacre. Now, USA says that USA wants the accountability of China onto the matter of Tiananmen massacre. So, guys, just background we need to see here. First of all, Tiananmen is a place into the Beijing. It is called as Tiananmen Square. Now, into this Tiananmen Square, a large number of people were gathered in 1989, and they all were demanding the free speech, democracy, fundamental rights, free judiciary, all these kind of things. Now, as protesters were not going back, China used force, military tanks were used, and on that particular thing, till today, the official toll has not been released, but it is being speculated that large number of people died here, and it is called as the one of the biggest abuse of the human rights. And on this particular thing, guys, 2019 was also the 30th anniversary of Tiananmen Square. So now the USA is asking the responsibility of China into this particular regard. And again, the China is saying that it is a hypocrisy. Why? Because Washington is abusing the rights in USA. So that it has been little bit of a more politicized issue. So this is all. Now we'll go to next. Now guys, here is a very good initiative which has been taken by the Reserve Bank of India. Now guys, into the direction of cashless economy, the digital economy, we need to promote the digital payment methods also. Now, in order to enhance the method, we need to install the point of sale terminals at the shops, as well as other digital mode of payment acceptance also. For example, the wallet and all these kind of things. Now guys, though majorly these things have been adopted, but still majorly into the northeast as well as into the interiors, the adoption of the digital modes of a payment has not been kept in place. Therefore, the Reserve Bank of India has established the Payment Infra Development Fund. So initial corpus of 250 crore will be given by the Reserve Bank of India, and then the fees will be collected from all the banks who are issuing the cards, and collectively a bigger pool of money will be made, and that pool will be used to install the digital infrastructure and to give the devices to the shops who are not covered under the digital payment receiving infrastructure. So guys, please keep in your mind that such scheme is by RBI and not by the Ministry of Finance or something else. Moreover, for the reference into the digital economy, cashless economy, this thing could be used as an example also. So this is all. Now we'll go to next. Now, guys, here the archaeologists in UK have used the LiDAR technology in order to study the archaeological sites. Though we will not be going into the news as which sites were studied because they are in UK, not in India. Now we need to see the LiDAR. So, guys, LiDAR stands for the light detection and ranging data. Now, guys, in LiDAR, there are three things. One is a scanner, a laser scanner, and GPS receiver. So, what happens? A beam of laser is reflected onto the surface, and the time it takes to come back is calculated. And on the basis of that reflection, the surface is scanned, and the information about the surface can be gauged. And friends, on that particular basis, a 3D map of the entire region can be made. So how the light is coming back on that particular thing only. So this technology could be very much promising for the geologist to study those areas which are inaccessible or where they can't go. So into the times to come, this technology has much more potential. Now guys, as questions are being asked into the science and tech, for example, OLED questions and all these kind of thing questions. So LiDAR is also being used into the iPhones for designing of the room interior and all that kind of thing. So the answer is LiDAR is possible into the mobile phones also, because such thing has been asked. So guys, this is all about the news, and now we'll move to the question answer section. Now guys, if we are into the question section, please pause the video and try to answer the questions. The first question is, which of them describes the worker population ratio? Now here in question number 2, try to identify the correct statement with respect to the National Real Estate Development Council. Now the question number 3, you need to consider the statements with respect to the World Environment Day. Now the question number 4, with respect to the Global Alliance for Vaccine and Immunization, you need to consider the statement. Why we are asking this? Because India has recently supported Gavi. So now we are into the mains question. So today's question is with respect to the disaster management in GS paper number 3. So the question is, anthropogenic disaster is the result of bureaucratic apathy which impacts not only lives but also livelihood and reveals the disastrous management of disaster. Friends, answer to this question will be discussed tomorrow in tomorrow's video, and if you want to attend, you can write the answer and can send it to the Telegram group. You will get a response. So that's all for today's discussion. I hope you are liking it. Thank you so much.